Munish Sharma, a very down-to-earth person from Delhi, has achieved second rank in the IAS exam 2013. He belongs to a middle-class family and his mother is an English teacher. To become an IAS officer was his childhood dream, and he achieved his dream in his second attempt. A postgraduate in management, he was associated with MNCs and was pursuing his corporate career before this achievement. He shares his experience and the strategy with our expert Rajat Kumar Saxena.
How do you feel after getting success in IAS exam 2013?
Feels great. It feels like that you have achieved your dream.
Whom would you like to thank for your success in IAS exam?
First of all, my mother, my teachers, my brother, my cousins, my friends. So many people to thank. In fact, I've learnt something or the other from everyone I have come across in my life.
Please tell us about your educational background.
I pursued my schooling from a school called MCL Saraswati Bal Mandir. It's located in Harinagar. And after that, I did my graduation in biochemistry from Sri Venkateshwara College, University of Delhi. Then I pursued MBA from Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management. After that, I started working. I had my corporate life, worked with companies like the Smart Cube and KPMG.
Please tell us about your family background.
My mother is a teacher and she teaches English. And apart from that, I have my grandmother, my brothers and my sister-in-law in the family.
What is your aim in life and how would you work in that direction?
Aim as such, I wanted to be an IAS officer. That is something which has got fulfilled. I want to make a long-lasting contribution to our society and to our nation per se, and I hope to achieve that.
Who is your role model?
There's not one person who I look forward to for everything. There are many people, for instance, Mr. APJ Abdul Kalam, Lata Mangeshkar, A.R. Rahman. So, in every person I find something unique and worth emulating. So there's no one person, there's so many people. For perseverance, fortitude and outlook towards life, I look forward to my mother.
Please tell us about your hobbies and interests.
I like cooking. I like writing poetry in various languages. I like listening to melody-based music. Apart from that, I take keen interest in reading about science news. I follow a lot of science journals and reading fiction. That is also one of my key interests.
How many languages do you know?
Hindi, English, Punjabi. I cannot write Urdu, but I know many words in it, so I have been writing in Urdu as well.
When did you choose to become a civil servant and why?
It was a childhood dream. I think in class 6, it was the first time when I thought that I would be an IAS officer. So I was just waiting for the right opportunity and the right time so that I could write this exam. There were a lot of responsibilities in the family. I wanted to shoulder them first and then write this exam. So after my post-grad in 2009, within 5 years when I thought I was financially stable enough and things were quite smooth in the family, that's when I wrote this exam.
How many attempts did you take to achieve this success?
It was my second attempt.
How did you evolve in these attempts?
I think in my first attempt, I did not take the exam very seriously. I just wrote the prelims, I got through them, wrote the mains, I got a call for the interview. For interview also, I went very raw. So I wasn't taking the exam very seriously, and the last year the pattern also was slightly different from this year, and you had 2 optionals. So I wasn't very well prepared. I just wrote the exams and I was lucky enough to reach till the interview stage. But this year I worked on my weaknesses and that has paid dividends.
How much time one should give for the preparation of IAS exam? When did you start for the preparation of IAS exam?
I think every person has their own unique story, their own strengths and weaknesses. So what worked for me may not work for you. There cannot be a time bound which can be fixed for it. But yes, there are common minimum things that one must do while appearing for UPSC exam. For instance, you must know about India's history, India's geography, world geography. So if it takes you 6 months to do that, you can do that in 6 months. If it takes you 1 month, you can do that. For me, prelim was not a big issue. For mains, yes, I brushed up quite a few things, but there also I was pretty strong with history and geography from my school days. So compared to those people who pay a lot of attention to conventional subjects, I just focused on current affairs and reading newspapers, magazines. My focus was comparatively lesser on conventional topics. I thought that I was already strong in them.
Is joining coaching institute indispensable for clearing the IAS exam?
No, I know quite a few people who have done it their own. At least that's what they say. But I think that you may at least get a guidance if you join a good coaching institute. There are, mushrooming institutes everywhere. So you need to make a wise decision. You should join an institute where the focus is less on teaching, but more on discussions, and where you get a chance to work on your own. Because this is an exam where if you get material in a ready-to-made fashion, if you cram it up, it may not work.
Do you think examination is more analysis oriented now rather than fact oriented?
Yeah, I do think so, because I have seen 10-year papers. I have seen how the exam pattern has evolved, how the questions have become better. So probably, yeah, now the questions are more analytical in nature. In fact, I know my uncles and teachers who could not in their days crack these exams, and they all blame it on that they had to mug a lot of things those days. But now it's not true. Now the focus has certainly shifted from cramming to understanding.
Did you use internet? How helpful was it?
I use internet a lot, and in fact I Google anything and everything which I do not understand. But you need to be very careful with the sources you follow. In fact, one of the blessings for this generation is that you have access to Wikipedia, but there also you can go through the sources in the end and see whether the article which has been written is properly referenced. And but then internet is a maze. If you get, if you just start following it blindly, you may not do many productive things. So you need to draw your lines. You need to understand when to stop researching something. That was one of the most difficult things for me. I'm a voracious reader, so I studied and read so many things which I knew they were not important for the exam, but I did them.
Which resource is most relevant to update the day-to-day knowledge as well as the backgrounds of events, and how?
There's no one resource as such. You need to follow a lot of websites, a lot of news channels. I personally followed Rajya Sabha TV and Lok Sabha TV, DD News. I never missed them, and even if I missed them, I used to look up their YouTube videos. In newspapers, I had subscribed to Hindu and Indian Express at home, and I used to follow them, and I used to also follow applications of BBC, Al Jazeera, New York Times, Times of India. So I always made the decision that, for instance, various newspapers and various writers may have their own ideologies and their own biases. So when you read a lot, you get to understand that, and you tend to see wider perspectives of different things. And so there were times when I read a couple of articles on Dawn as well, to see how do people in our neighboring countries think about world developments. So if you just want to follow one or two newspapers, I think you can do that as well. But if you have ample of time at your disposal, if you like to read, then there's no end to the kind of newspapers you can follow.
What type of mindset should the candidate keep to handle the evolving pattern of IAS examination?
I think you should enjoy the journey. You should feel proud of the fact that when you are preparing for UPSC, your perspective to look at the world affairs, the happenings in the country, it changes. It drastically changes. You get an opportunity to become a more responsible citizen. So you should enjoy this journey. Even if you do not get through UPSC, you will discover that your personality would have changed. You would not be one of those people who take to Facebook or social media and write just any comment there. Your discussions will become more intelligent. After a few years, you will be able to guide your cousins or maybe your kids in a better way. So I think it is a life-transforming experience to prepare for UPSC. That's how I looked up at it.
What were your service preferences and cadre preferences?
In services, IAS followed by IFS, IPS, and in cadre I filled up Haryana first, followed by Punjab, Rajasthan, and Agmut.
Why did you opt for Haryana as your first preference?
I was born in Haryana. I have so many relatives over there, and I have this tendency of not to change many places. In Agmut, you need to at least go to 10 places. Maybe you might be spending at least 3/4 of your time in Delhi, but then I just wanted to work in a state.
Please enumerate the do's and don'ts for the IAS examination.
I think there cannot be a laundry list of do's and don'ts for everyone. But then, yeah, there are a few things which you should not do. For instance, you should not waste your time on the internet, as I said. You should not blindly follow different people, different blogs. You should not believe in grapevine and hearsay. And you should not follow many books. You should follow one good book first, finish that, assimilate that, and then maybe you can go for other material. You should not simply buy magazines and books just for making yourself feel good about it. And do's, you should be sincere in your efforts. You should not be making a fool of yourself. Sometimes we know that we are not doing the correct thing, and then also we just try to, make ourselves happy by doing one thing or the other.